Shakespeare, and I'm here with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Dakota Fanning, and we are going to talk about my new movie, Hamlet. Joe, you play Hamlet. What would you consider to be your character's Horatio?
Well, I say that's a very important part of his character and his role in the play as a whole. And it would definitely be when he kills Polonius, Ophelia's father, and it sort of just starts this downturn for him to the ultimate tragic ending for him.
And Dakota, how do you feel about the role of your character Ophelia in the movie?
Well, my character is a little bit crazy. She reacts very wildly to the fact that Hamlet kills her father. And overall, I think women are kind of depicted as a lower status in Shakespeare's play. It kind of represents misogyny, which is the hatred of women, which I feel is a theme that you tried to express. And it really just shows that women play a passive role. They don't really care. I mean, Gertrude's kind of hopeless. She married a man who killed her husband and didn't even know about it. And Ophelia's they both play very important roles in the novel, but they don't really have much say in the movie. So I feel like Shakespeare just kind of tries to downplay their characters. But Ophelia is definitely crazy, and I had to really act crazy to react to Hamlet's killing her father.
So that's all the time that we have for today. We're going to do another backstage, behind-the-scenes look tomorrow. So join us again, and we'll be answering more questions about my new movie.
Hi, welcome to day 2 of our interview. Today we're going to talk a little more in depth about the new movie, and particularly the plot structure that Shakespeare wanted to express in the novel, and we're going to answer more viewer questions that we had.
Alright, we're going to take a quick look at my to be or not to be speech in the upcoming film. I hope you enjoy it. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consumption devotedly to be wished, to die, to sleep.
That was Joseph Gordon-Levitt in To Be or Not to Be, which is one of the most famous parts, I think, from the play. So what do you think that was? What do you think that speech was about?
Well, I think it really is the best example of Hamlet's moral confusion about the complexity of death and his philosophical wondering about what happens after death and once you die, and him trying to decide whether committing suicide would be right for him and whether it's actually noble, even though most people consider it most people consider it cowardice, and he takes this approach that it could be considered even moral and noble, and so it's just his thoughts about how death and wondering what will happen after death.
Okay, so a lot of people were wondering about the complexity of the parent-child relationships in the film, and I think there are a lot. Between Hamlet and Gertrude is actually the most harmonious relationship because they have somewhat of a communication. They both actually care for each other, whereas Polonius has very harsh relationships with both of his children, Ophelia and Laertes, and he's very dominant over them, very dominant over Ophelia, my character, and he kind of belittles her and tells her not to fall in love with Hamlet. Also, the parent-child relationship between Claudius and Hamlet is obviously very bad. They both mutually hate each other. They both try to kill. It's just a very bad relationship, and I think that the play as a whole kind of exposes the reality of really bad parent-child relationships and what can happen when they become extreme and the hatred just becomes unbearable, as what happens with Hamlet when he kills Claudius.
Okay, so Shakespeare would, some reviewers were wondering about the 5 plot structure that Shakespeare used and how it was incorporated into our movie.
Okay, well, the 5-act plot structure is it's really simple. It's the composition, which introduces the character or the exposition, which introduces the characters, such as Hamlet and Ophelia. And the second one is the complications, which introduces the problems that they face, such as Hamlet's problems that he has. The climax is the third act, and that is where all of their problems start to build up and arise to the falling action, which is the fourth act, and then the catastrophe happens in the fifth act, and which is where our play ends.
Where everyone dies, basically.
Basically.
Can you tell us about the connection to Greek theater that they used in the movie?
Okay, well, the connection to Greek theater would be that the Greek theater kept the unity of time, place, and action, which it would all take place in one day or in one location. Shakespeare sort of kept that, in which he had very few locations, and it took place over a very short amount of time, so just a few days. And
I believe it also used Aristotle's teaching about how there was a tragic hero,
yeah,
and how he kind of downfalled, just like you, Hamlet.
Yeah, in our play, Hamlet is our tragic hero.
Yeah, that's seen in most of Shakespeare's tragedies as well.
So let's talk about some other themes that are in the movie. What do you guys think are some themes?
Well, I think one of the main themes, as we talked about before, was the questioning of death. That just is very clear, especially with the "Do Me Not to Speak" speech, which the clip we just saw earlier.
Like moral values is another one, especially when Hamlet's talking about if he should take his own life or not, and with Ophelia talking about if she should disobey her father or be with Hamlet, which is what she really wants.
I think corruption is also a common theme. There's like a lot of corruption of power and just the whole overall theme of corruption, and just instability of relationships, as I said. I think those are some pretty prominent themes in the movie. Thanks for tuning in to our broadcast.
Be sure to see my new movie.
Bye.